"You're sure you're okay closing up alone, Maya?" Mr. Henderson asked for what felt like the 100th time, his keys already jingling in his hand. He was the head librarian of the Cedarwood Public Library, a man who'd been there so long folks joked the dust settled differently on him. Maya Rivers, the newest and youngest librarian in town, just smiled. "I'll be totally fine, Mr. H. It's just books and quiet. My kind of heaven." All right, he chuckled. "Just remember, the old heating system kicks on around 10. Sounds like a ghost clearing its throat. Don't let it spook you. Got it? A throat-clearing ghost. I'll offer it a cough drop." Mr. Henderson shook his head, still smiling, and left. The heavy oak door clicked shut behind him, leaving Maya in what felt like the quietest place on earth. She loved this time. The library after hours was a different world. The last of the evening sun slanted through the tall, arched windows, painting the endless rows of bookshelves in stripes of gold and deep shadow. The air smelled of old paper, polished wood, and that particular sweet stale scent of quiet history. Maya was a book whisperer, or so her grandma called her. She didn't just read books. She felt them. She could walk down an aisle and get a vibe. This section was anxious, the mystery novels. That one was dreamy, the poetry. The history section carried a low, respectful hum. She spent the next few hours reshelving, humming softly. By the time the big clock above the circulation desk chimed 11, she was in the rhythm of solitude. Then, at 11:47 p.m., something changed. It wasn't a sound at first. It was a feeling, like the air pressure had shifted the way it does before a storm. The hairs on her arms stood up. She paused, a copy of To Kill a Mockingbird in her hand. "Hello," she called out, her voice barely a whisper in the vast space. Silence. "Okay, Maya. Mr. H was right. The heating system is creepy," she told herself firmly. She went back to shelving, but the feeling didn't go away. It grew. A soft, tingling sensation at the edge of her hearing. She strained to listen. There, beneath the steady tick-tock of the clock, a murmur. Not one voice, but many, many tiny ones. A susurrus, a collective whisper. Her heart, which had been beating a calm, steady rhythm, now did a little tap dance of panic. But curiosity, that ancient and stubborn flame, burned brighter. She wasn't scared. She was creeped out but kind of fascinated. She followed the sound. It led her away from the modern fiction, past the reference desks, deep into the oldest part of the library, the heritage stacks. This was where they kept the books no one checked out anymore. Leather-bound histories of the town, volumes of forgotten poetry, atlases with maps of countries that didn't exist. The whispering was clearer here. It seemed to be coming from a specific, dark-wooded shelf labeled local folklore and unverified histories. "This is nuts," she breathed, her hand hovering over the spine of a particularly thick, worn book titled Chronicles of Cedarwood, Facts and Fancies. She pulled it out. The whisper stopped. Just like that. The sudden silence was louder than the noise had been. She looked around, half expecting to see someone playing a prank. But she was utterly alone. Holding the heavy book, she walked back to the main desk. The clock struck midnight. Bong, bong, bong. As the last chime faded, the book in her hand shivered. Maya almost dropped it. She clutched it tighter, her knuckles white. Okay. I'm either very tired or this is really happening. She laid the book gently on the desk. The leather was cool and cracked under her fingertips. She took a deep breath, steadied herself, and opened it. The pages were yellowed, the ink faded. It seemed to be a collection of essays, diaries, and odd notes about Cedarwood's past. Nothing shocking. A story about the founding families. A note about a drought in 1890. A recipe for wart remover that involved frog spawn. Great! My magical book is a wart remover manual, she muttered, disappointed. Then, as she flipped to a seemingly blank page near the middle, words began to appear. Not like ink soaking through, but as if they were being written that very moment by an invisible pen. Elegant, loopy cursive script flowed across the page. "Good evening, librarian." Maya yelped and jumped back, her chair screeching. The writing continued patiently. "Our apologies. We did not mean to startle. It has been many years since one of your station has been able to hear." Maya's mind was a whirlwind. "What, who, how?" she stammered. "We are the keepers. The memories. The stories that were almost lost. We reside here in the quiet hours." "You're the books?" she whispered. "In a manner of speaking, we are the essence of the stories. The emotions left behind by every reader. The hope in a romance, the fear in a thriller, the wonder in a tale of adventure. When a book is loved, truly loved, a piece of that love becomes sentient, aware. We are that awareness." Maya slowly sat back down, her scientific mind battling with the wonder unfolding before her. "So you're like book ghosts?" A new line appeared, and she could almost feel the gentle amusement in it. A romantic simplification, but not inaccurate. "We are echoes, and we are lonely. Why can I hear you? See this? You are a true listener. Most people read with their eyes. Some read with their hearts. You, Maya Rivers, read with your soul. You leave a part of yourself in every story you finish. We recognize our own. Maya thought of all the nights she'd spent lost in other worlds, crying over fictional deaths, cheering for unlikely heroes. She'd always felt books were alive. Now apparently they were. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice soft. "To be remembered. To be shared. The world is getting louder faster. People come for information, not for journeys. They scroll, they do not savor. We are fading. With every forgotten book, a whisper dies forever." The weight of the confession settled over Maya. It wasn't a scary weight. It was a sad, heavy, beautiful one. "How can I help?" The answer came swiftly. "Listen." That was how it began. Every night after closing, Maya would go to the heritage stacks. She would pull out the chronicles, which she now thought of as the conduit, and ask a question. "Who has a story to tell tonight?" And the whispers would rise, a soft rustling chorus. The conduit would act as translator, its pages filling with tales not written in any of the physical books, but between them, the stories of the readers. One night, it was the story of a young soldier in 1943, who read For Whom the Bell Tolls the Night before he shipped out. The book held his terror and his courage, a perfect preserved snapshot. Another night, it was the tale of an old woman who came every Thursday for 10 years to read the same book of sonnets. She was grieving her husband. The poetry section still hummed with her quiet, enduring love. Maya learned that the library wasn't just a building full of books. It was a living museum of human emotion. Every laugh, every tear, every moment of understanding that had ever happened within these walls had left a trace. The books had absorbed it all. She started making small changes. She created a forgotten favorites display, intuitively picking books that felt lonely. Circulation of those titles soared. She began a late-night reading club for insomniacs and night owls, telling them she just liked the ambience. The members said they slept better after, like the stories carried away the day's noise. The whispers grew stronger, happier. The whole library seemed to glow a little warmer, feel a little more welcoming. But then she noticed the shadows. First, they were just cold spots. A shelf in the far corner of the basement that always gave her chills. A section of encyclopedias that felt empty even though they were full of facts. The conduit explained, its script growing anxious. Not all stories are preserved. Some are taken. Some are consumed. By what? We do not have a name for it. It is the absence. The anti-story. It feeds on forgetfulness, on anger hastily read, on books bought but never opened. It thrives in indifference. Where there is no love, it leaves a hollow, a shadow. Maya understood. For every beloved classic, there were a dozen discount bin novels bought on a whim, skimmed and discarded. For every child who fell in love with a character, there was a student cursing a required textbook. That negativity, that void, had a presence too. Is it dangerous? Does not harm humans. It only drains the essence from books, leaving them inert shells. Words remain, but the magic is gone. It is spreading. Maya investigated. The cold spots were growing. A whole rack of popular political polemics from a decade ago was utterly silent, book dead. A donation of brand new mass-market self-help books felt like walking into a psychic void. The library was under a silent siege. The war was between whispering and silence. The conduit had a suggestion, a desperate one. The only weapon against the absence is a new story. A powerful, pure story created here, where the walls are thin. A story of connection, read aloud with intent. It would create a shield, a beacon. A new story? Who's going to write that? Maya asked. The book's page remained blank for a long time. You must. Maya was no author. She was a librarian. Her job was to care for stories, not create them. But as she walked through the silent, sleeping town to her apartment, she saw stories everywhere. The elderly couple who ran the all-night diner. Their love a quiet, steady novel. The teenager skateboarding under a street lamp, living a coming-of-age tale. The tired nurse coming off a shift. A hero in scrubs. The story wasn't in her. It was around her. She just had to gather it. For the next week she became a collector. She listened, truly listened, to patrons. She asked gentle questions. She noted down fragments in a small notebook not connected to the library, so the emotions were hers alone. She heard about a man who found his birth father because of a surname in a historical novel. A child who overcame a fear of water because of a picture book about a brave otter. A woman who started a community garden after reading about sustainable farming. These weren't grand epics. They were small human moments, but they were real. They were light. On Friday night, with the library closed and the clock nearing midnight, she was ready. She stood in the center of the main hall, the conduit on a reading podium. All around her she could feel the gathered presence of the keepers, a hopeful, anxious hum in the air. The cold spots of the absence pulsed at the edges of the room, waiting. She turned on a single soft lamp. She opened her notebook, and she began to speak. This story is called The Tapestry of Cedarwood, she began, her voice clear and calm in the vast quiet. It's not about one person. It's about threads. She wove together the fragments she'd collected. She spoke of connection, of small acts rippling outward, of how a story in a book could become an action in the real world. She spoke of loss and love, and the quiet courage of everyday life. She put all the love she felt for her town, for her library, for the very idea of stories into her words. The final word hung in the air. Then the swirling cloud of light rushed outward, not in an explosion but in a wave. A warm, silent wave that washed through every aisle, every shelf, every corner of the library. It soaked into the books, new and old. The cold spots vanished. The entire building let out a sigh, a tangible physical release of tension. The air itself tasted sweeter, lighter. On the page of the conduit, a single line appeared in glowing gold ink. Thank you. Things didn't go back to how they were. They became more. The library became the heart of the town in a way it hadn't been for a century. Maya's Living Library project took off, where people came to share their personal stories, not just borrow them. The building was always warm, always welcoming. The whispers were still there, but they were content now. A peaceful background hum. The absence was gone, defeated not by force, but by a superior kind of nourishment. Mr. Henderson retired, leaving the library in Maya's care. I always knew this place was special, he said on his last day, looking around with misty eyes. But you, Maya, you made it sing. Maya just smiled. She knew the truth. She hadn't made it sing. She'd simply learned how to listen to the music that was always there. One night, deep in the heritage stacks, a new whisper emerged. Faint but pure. It came from the Forgotten Favorites display. A brand new novel just added that week was already gathering its first echoes of readerly joy. Maya placed a hand on its spine. Welcome, she whispered. From the shelf where the conduit rested, she felt a pulse of gentle, bookish satisfaction. The cycle was complete. Stories were being loved. New whispers were being born. The library was alive, and it would sleep peacefully through the night.